I used to go to the theater in New York because I refused to be segregated. And I had not truthfully seen many good moving pictures before I came out here as a woman, a young woman, because I have always refused to be segregated. I think I've been in the Wellmont about 5 or 6 times only, because I still remember when they used to put you on one side and I refused to do it. And I would go into New York and go to the movies and then come back home. And because I felt that we had to prove that we don't take that. We are people. And that was the kind of thing that we tried to do. We are people who love our neighbors. We know how to act. We know what to do. And I tried to prove it.
Yeah, but I went to college in the 60s, and we protested everything. So, I mean, that period is alive and well.
It's one reason it's better now.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Absolutely. Thank you.
As more African Americans moved north, more racism and segregation reared its ugly head. As some said, Jim Crow actually got on the train, moved north, and settled in the suburbs.
The YWCA was our salvation, because there were so many activities in the town to which we could not belong that, you could feel so slighted, and as a child wonder, well, who am I? What is there about me that I can't belong to the French club? I take French. What is there about me that I can't belong to the Glee club? I have a good voice. So the YWCA and the YMCA for boys, just saved us from being so bitter about the things. And my mother, of course, wouldn't let us become bitter.
The African American women actually took it upon themselves to say, we need a place for the young women who are coming into town to work as domestic servants, where they can be cared for, a safe place, and they can get to know each other and actually grow and develop. And it was at that point, Alice Foster gathered women from the black churches in Montclair and said, let us do something, and actually established what became the YWCA.
The Y hadn't, I don't think, had been organized very long when we moved there. And of course, through our church, which was just around the corner, Union Baptist Church, she learned about the Y and went there and took us there.
And many of the women who ascribed to a politics of respectability said, yes, this is something we can do, and they did it from the churches. One might ask, why did they want a YWCA? Why not just take care of the women in their churches? Because there were many black churches in Montclair. One reason is that the church space was actually male space. The male pastors determined what happened, what did not happen. The YW would become women's space. She approached the white women in town for their assistance in getting this moving. Because of the racial and class hierarchy in the suburbs, black women recognized they needed to form allies with white women if they were going to get anything done. And in fact, the white women in town thought this was a marvelous idea, because for white women, the YW looked like a place to vet potential domestic workers. It was a place that they would learn how to serve and pour well. And it was also a place that they did not have to worry about how to house their domestic servants.
There were white women who contributed financially, and I guess, they probably always thought we needed some kind of help. And there was a white board and a black board.
In the north, where there are YWCA branches established, as in the Oranges, right next door to Montclair, black YWCA, or colored branch as they called it, and a white central branch. And that kind of balancing works for the YWCA National Board. They said, yes, we look like an integrated organization if we have a white segregated branch and a black segregated branch, but they're all YWCAers.
The Black Ys came about through major philanthropic endeavors by very, very, very wealthy white people. They said, oh, okay, we're Christian association, but we still want separate but equal. So we'll build these Ys, and they did them all over the country.
WC was very unusual because it was not a branch. The YWCA was already organized by black women. This sort of tells you of the caliber of the women that were living in Montclair at the time. There's no white YWCA.
Clearly, the white women in Montclair did not want black women to begin to think of themselves as social equals. And if there were a white central YWCA, along with the already established now Glen Ridge Avenue YWCA, they would look as though they were equivalent, socially equivalent. And whenever these women would go to a YWCA conference, they would go as equals. And I can just imagine that that was anathema to these suburban white women.
We had a wonderful YWCA secretary, Alice Foster, and a girl reserve. That was what the girls were called, girl reserve secretary, Hortense Ridley, and these two boards.
For the black women at the Glen Ridge Avenue YWCA, things could not have looked better. They decided what programs they were going to implement. They decided who they would hire, just getting the okay from the white board. They were no longer under the gaze of black men in the church who would tell them what they could do, what they could not do, nor the gaze of white women who also wanted to control black women. So black women had their own space.
That was such a beautiful house, and it was beautifully furnished, beautifully cared for, and we respected it so much that we just took very good care of it. And there was a Miss Seward who was the housekeeper, and she took excellent care of that house. You'd dare not drop anything and not pick it up.